Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Before I get into it, I want to mention that this is the first video I'm making after the Black Lives Matter movement has been protesting for justice for George Floyd and countless other lives that have been taken by police brutality. And I do want to mention that I have linked to petitions, places to donate, and a bunch of other information in the description. So if you can, after you watch this video, take a look at all those links and do what you can. It's going to take all of us to bring down white supremacy in our country, and whether it's signing petitions, donating, emailing your politicians, protesting, whatever it is, doing whatever you can is definitely a must. So I just wanted to point that out, that all those resources and links and everything is down in the description. So if you can, go ahead and click on those when you're done with this video. Now, another thing that's taken over the world is Corona, and as many of you know, the TV and film industry has halted and come to a stop with production because of this pandemic. And this video is all about how the industry plans to reopen and start up production while also combating COVID-19. A lot of you guys have messaged me about how you're having a really hard time applying for jobs, finding jobs, or getting jobs right now. And I just want to remind you guys, this is a pandemic. We've been in the middle of a pandemic. Nobody, hardly anyone, I should say, is looking to extend their team, is looking to hire new people, especially PAs. Production has stopped. So stop putting so much pressure on yourself for not being able to find a job right now. Right now, nobody is really able to find a job. So many people are in the same position as you, just waiting for the industry to reopen. So a few days ago, Governor Newsom announced that the film and TV industry can start up again on June 12th. So the industry-wide Labor Management Safety Committee Task Force, which is comprised of several unions like SAG-AFTRA, the Directors Guild, IATSE, and the Teamsters, as well as a number of studios like Disney, Netflix, HBO. They submitted a 22-page document to the governor of California, New York, and several other states. And this document includes protocols for restarting production while minimizing the spread of COVID-19. I recommend everyone take a look at this document. I included it in the description, but this is a breakdown of what it says and a kind of a glimpse of what the industry will look like once we begin to open up again. It starts off by saying that they are following CDC recommendations as well as state and federal recommendations, and that each specific department will need to develop their own set of protocols with that department's union and the employer. They note that things will probably need to change and be amended as news and new recommendations come out from the CDC and the state and the federal government. They acknowledge that going back to work can be stressful and affect people's mental health. So they plan on providing resources, tools, hotlines, and training to help people cope with the anxiety and the stress that will be caused by coming back into the workforce with this pandemic still happening. I think it's really important that they included this and that they're acknowledging that going back to work can affect people's mental health, and hopefully this will actually help people that are stressed and anxious about going back to work. I am interested in seeing how the employers implement this and what resources, hotlines, tools, trainings they actually offer, because the document doesn't actually go into specifics, but I'm glad that this is actually something that they did include, and it is a priority. It also says that paid leave policies will be more flexible to encourage sick people and people that should be in quarantine to stay home. Of course, we want to encourage people that are sick or that might be sick to stay home, and having a paid leave is a great way to encourage that those people don't feel stressed, that don't feel like they need to go to work to get a paycheck, and kind of deprioritize their health and other people's health for that paycheck. It's really important that money is not the reason why they go to work if they are sick or possibly sick. So this is really great. They can stay home and still feel like they have some sort of financial stability. So that's really, really important. It also says that cast and crew will be required to participate in a daily symptom monitoring prior to arriving to set or their workplace. So basically, this would be the form of an online form or self-monitoring survey or something like that, where you'd basically say that you don't have any symptoms or you haven't been around someone with symptoms, things like that. Just a self-survey type of thing that you would do every day. It also says that cast and crew will be subject to regular testing during their employment and to be able to continue to be employed. I think this speaks for itself. They want people that are asymptomatic to be tested to make sure that they're not spreading the virus unknowingly. I think this is really important. Hopefully other companies outside the industry also implement this. Whenever possible, that face coverings are recommended to be worn and that the employer should provide those face coverings for you, and that those face coverings should meet the recommended guidelines. It notes that it won't be possible to social distance and to wear masks all the time. So for example, makeup artists, actors, wardrobe, sound, people that have to get real close to other people, it's just not going to be possible to social distance or to wear masks in those situations. But it does recommend to limit those interactions, to not have multiple people have to do that at once if you can have only one person to do it, and right after that interaction is done, to put on a mask and to social distance right away, like only when it is absolutely necessary. Speaking of acting, they also encourage to change or to minimize scenes where actors need to be very close to each other, and this can be done by rewriting the scene or by using digital effects, and to possibly change shooting schedules so performers don't have to be flying back and forth and traveling a lot. It recommends that when auditioning, people use self-tapes and to do video conferencing, but it also knows that sometimes maybe that won't be the case. You need to meet face-to-face. Well, if social distancing and wearing a mask isn't necessarily an option, that there should be a plexiglass in between the casting team and the actor. Video conferencing is also recommended for meetings and writing rooms and other situations where it's possible to video conference. But it also says that if it's not possible to wear masks and social distancing is a reoccurring theme throughout this whole document. Then it goes on to talk about how sanitizing and cleaning is really important for common areas, for your personal equipment, for pretty much anything, that it should be wiped down before you use it, before you touch it, after you touch it, and just throughout the day constantly. It specifically talks about walkie-talkies and how productions should assign one walkie-talkie to one person, and that walkie-talkie should be theirs for the entirety of the production. Usually that's how a lot of sets operate, but in case the set is not operating that way, that is the new protocol for this, just to be safe and sanitary. And I do want to mention, if you don't have your own personal earpiece for walkie-talkies and you use them, definitely go buy yourself some online or in like an electronic store. There are plenty of options for like a headset or like the little ones. It's just way more sanitary to use your own personal headset every single time instead of using the one that they provide. So paper use and touching of paper also needs to be really limited. I never thought about it, but like, you can't sanitize paper, you can't wash it, you can't really wipe it down without damaging paper. So they're really encouraging using electronic versions of documents instead, or switching, using petty cash to a P card, so you're not using, a bunch of cash that's been touched by other people. And when it's absolutely necessary to use paper, like if you have to use a printed copy of a script or something like that, that you wash your hands beforehand and after and all that kind of stuff. It seems like maybe a lot of productions are going to switch and be using electronic documents instead of printing, and that seems like it might be a very positive change. Social distancing is obviously required, and it encourages and asks for signs and tape on the floor and different indications like cones to show 6 feet measurements, so people know where to stand if they're waiting in line for lunch or anywhere where people gather, to show that they are 6 feet apart. Meals would need to be staggered if there's a large group, so people aren't all going to lunch at the same time. Meals and snacks need to be individually wrapped. There can't be any communal bowls, communal utensils, or a buffet style meal anymore. Because of social distancing, live audiences are not recommended. They do say that they are allowed if they wear masks and they social distance, but it just seems like in general, seems like live audiences are kind of a bad idea just because they haven't been tested and going through all of the guidelines that the crew is. So you're kind of putting the crew in an unhealthy, unsafe situation. So it's likely that shows with live audiences won't have live audiences until way down the line. The last thing I'm going to mention is that it says that there should be a designated COVID-19 compliance officer, which sounds like there's going to be someone in the cast and crew that is designated to oversee and train and will be trained in how to make sure that all these guidelines are being followed. Everyone on the cast and crew will know who this person is so they can go ask questions or voice concerns. It didn't really say whether this is going to be a brand new person whose only responsibility is to oversee those guidelines and that responsibility, or if it's going to be somebody that is already on the crew, like a producer or an AD, who will then take on that responsibility as well. But whoever it is, they're going to be so stressed. Like, these guidelines and just coming back into production with this virus still being very present, it's going to be very stressful for whoever this compliance officer is. There's a lot more that I did not cover that is in document, specifically to makeup or to props and art department and a lot of other stuff that I didn't cover. So definitely go check that out. It's in the description again. But overall, I continue to emphasize the importance of sanitizing, washing your hands, wearing a mask, social distancing, and all the things that we kind of already know and that should be implemented across the board in every industry. Obviously, it's not going to be anything like it was before. It's going to be a very gradual process to get to anything close to how production was before. I'll link an article in the description that talks about the use of digital assets, green screens, and other ways that production will probably change to fit around these restrictions. It talks about having to use digital extras, less real extras, limiting crowds, how actors are going to have to act more against a green screen rather than on location. A whole lot of different things that will probably influence the industry moving forward for a while. So I'll link that in the description as well. But that's all I have for you guys. Thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, please click that like. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And don't forget to check out the links that I have down below all about the Black Lives Matter movement. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you guys next time.